You're watching CBS 8 Mornings at 6.
Thank you for joining us on this wet Wednesday. It is 6 a.m. I'm Eric Connert.
And I'm Chris Groh. Let's get to meteorologist Evan Ronnie here for a quick check on the forecast. And Evan, a little bit of a break, but we're going to be right back into this soon. Huh?
Tomorrow's going to be a busy one for us, especially through the morning stretch where we've got an additional inch, maybe 2 inches of precipitation on the way. For the day today, however, things are much lighter. Now, yesterday we came in with about half an inch of precipitation. San Diego International saw 9/10 of an inch, so almost a full inch. So it's not like we haven't had any rain over the last 24 hours. We've had quite a bit, and now this is kind of the leftovers that we have for the morning stretch. You see how light that green is. There's a chance that as we get toward the afternoon, we'll see some of those clouds break apart, maybe a tiny bit of sunshine. And then into tomorrow, that chance for rain climbs to 100%. Showers will linger into Friday, and then we have a dry upcoming weekend for the most part. Out the door right now, temperatures mostly in the 50s. Coming up, we're going to talk more about what to expect throughout the day today and then into tomorrow. That important transition to tomorrow morning. Rain, mountain snow, wind, all on the way. Details in a few.
This morning, the European Union announced retaliatory tariffs worth $28 billion in response to President Donald Trump's increased tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from all countries.
The EU's measures begin April 1st and will cover steel and aluminum, as well as textiles, home appliances, and agricultural products. It comes hours after President Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs took effect at midnight. The president pulled back on his threat to double those tariffs on Canada from 25% to 50%. The move came after the Premier of Ontario suspended his 25% surcharge on electricity exports, to the U.S. Economists predict prices for cars, home building materials, appliances, and beverage cans could go up because of the steel and aluminum tariffs.
The impacts will probably be felt in the next 60 to 90 days as we buy more steel and aluminum, and as those containers are filled with food and beverages.
Domestic steel and aluminum producers could benefit. U.S. companies might be willing to pay more for their metal in order to avoid the 25% tariff. The trade uncertainty sent markets tumbling again yesterday. We'll check in on Wall Street the next half hour and what you can do to protect your portfolio.
And this just in here, inflation slowed last month. That's according to the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But economists warn this may be short-lived as President Trump ramps up his trade war. The consumer price index rose 2.8% in February from a year earlier. That's less than the 3% annual gain reported for January. And this morning, we're also learning U.S. egg prices increased by an average of 10.4% last month. Today, Department of Education offices nationwide are closed. The agency announced more than 1,300 people out of its 4,000 employees are being fired. This follows President Trump's push to downsize the federal government and discussions about potentially shutting down the department. Tomorrow is the deadline for all federal agencies to submit plans for a reduction in force, which would not only result in layoffs, but would eliminate positions.
And this morning, we have an update on a story that we've been following for the last year. A plan for a megachurch in Del Cerro is now getting the green light.
And this comes despite fierce community opposition. CBS 8's Regina Yarita live in Del Cerro now with some of the concerns being brought up here. Regina?
That's right. Good morning, Eric and Chris. And here, the Del Cerro community thought that this project was scrapped. They thought that this was the end of that debate. But you can imagine their shock or their surprise when noticing that the city decided to reconsider this project after a lengthy debate yesterday during a city council meeting. They green-lighted that project. The city council actually approved that project, and it has the Del Cerro community here pretty upset. Take a listen.
People fly down that hill. I couldn't imagine adding another light with more pedestrians in the mix with an already dangerous crosswalk situation.
And so critics argue that the residentially zoned land should be used for housing instead, given the city's ongoing housing and homelessness crisis. But the council voted 5-4 on Tuesday, moving forward to build this mega church, which includes classrooms and over 300 parking spaces on a 6-acre site near San Diego State University. So this is a battle between the Del Cerro community against the church group called the People's Church, who has had plans to build this mega church here And it comes as the city faces a federal lawsuit filed by the church alleging that the city violated their religious freedom when it initially rejected the proposal in 2024. The pastor of the church, on the other hand, has expressed his desire to serve the city, mentioning the project as a win for the potential job creation. Take a listen.
We're really desirous to serve this city and be great neighbors, so we humbly ask for your support.
Now, we do know that the All People's Church, along with the city, are expected to meet this week to discuss that potential lawsuit, but it could be scrapped now that the city has greenlighted this project. For now, Chris and Eric, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Regina. This morning, the San Diego Unified School District says that it has a plan to eliminate its budget deficit and actually increase revenue for the upcoming school year. The board approved its second interim financial report. The district says the plan differs from those in the past because it's making strategic decisions on job cuts. Their plan aims to avoid as many layoffs as possible and improve efficiency by reassigning some employees to critical job roles. Less than 30 possible layoff notices will be issued on Saturday, but the district says it's likely most will not be laid off. Meantime, a discussion on eliminating dozens of jobs at the Grossmont Union High School District went late into the night. Many people showed up at the governing board meeting to speak out about a plan to close a $2.4 million deficit for next year. Last month, the board approved resolutions to notify employees whose positions could be eliminated. This includes 49 certificated jobs and about 12 classified positions.
What we've heard is we are being eliminated. Of course, they could always rescind that, and that's what this is all about. We're hoping that they see the outrage. The public, our staff, students, the parents, everyone supporting.
I understand that not everyone agrees with these recommendations. However, we are making these decisions with the long-term best interest of our students and families in mind.
Employees will have to be notified by Saturday if there's a possibility their position could be eliminated, but final decisions will be made by the May 15th deadline. And will you have to pay for parking at Balboa Park and Mission Bay? The city of San Diego actually moving forward with those plans.
Officials say the goal of this is to improve traffic flow, increase parking turnover, and encourage alternative transportation. No fees have been set, but they may vary by location. Officials say revenue would go back into the parks. Park and community stakeholders will decide on details, and then the city will draft a proposal for city council approval.
Well, today is probably not a really good day to go to the park.
Yeah,
right?
it's going to be pretty wet out there. But hey, the trees, the grass, they're all going to need a little extra
They're
water
stoked.
there. Yeah.
Yes, they're happy with what we saw yesterday with the overcast skies that could still bring a few more showers today. And then with the full additional 1 to 2 inches in the forecast for tomorrow. Take a look at where we are outside right now, mostly in the 50s. 53 in Santee, 56 in Carlsbad, and 57 in downtown San Diego. Pretty much every spot in the county is at least overcast. I mean, the sun hasn't even come up yet, so you're not going to be able to see much through the clouds. However, there are still some spots that are recording some light drizzle as we speak. Between now and the end of the day today, we're expecting between 1/100th of an inch and 1/10th of an inch total. You can see most of the county looking at that about 1/10th marker. But what I want to do is push this rainfall estimate forward from the end of the day today through early tomorrow and into Friday, because that's where all these numbers really start to climb. And you start to really notice that discrepancy between what we'll see along the coast and what we have inland. Inland valleys show a much higher rate of spread. We've got about 1.7 inches in Escondido, Poway 1.7. So it looks like the rainfall rate will be heavier across most of our inland valleys compared to the coastline. Coastline's not too far behind, around 1 inch total is what we're looking at. And then of course the mountains are going to be bringing about a bit of uncertainty because areas like Palomar Mountain, Mount Laguna, and Julian are all spots where that snow level is going to steadily drop. So for the start of this storm, we're looking at about 7,000 feet that snow level could drop all the way down to about 4,000 feet throughout the next 24 hours. Not only are we encountering rain and mountain snow, but we've got plenty of wind too. Here's 6 p.m. today. Winds are breezy out there, but what I want to do as well, again, you're kind of seeing a trend here, is push this through Thursday, because what we're getting at is that Thursday is expected to be a much more impactful day in all three aspects: rain, snow, and wind. When we look at Thursday afternoon, we have those gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour along the coast and inland, 40 miles per hour off toward the mountains and deserts. So things get a little bit more intense Thursday before everything starts to die down as we get closer and closer to the upcoming weekend. Let's check in on traffic. So far, when we've done so, we haven't seen much in terms of difficulty on the roads, but we're starting to see a couple crashes pop up. One of them on the northbound 805. You can see that already causing some slight delays in the area. Second crash that you see there is on a surface street. However, it's still a good idea this morning, despite the fact that we don't have a ton of rain falling on the ground, to take it a bit slower out there. The roads are still very wet. Road weather index showing that we have those wet roads, and that means that it's still going to be one of those mornings that you might want to slow down and practice that defensive driving. Border wait time, 60 minutes at the San Ysidro Port of Entry, so about an hour in total. Otay Mesa Port of Entry, you're going to get across a little bit faster there. It'll take you 30 minutes.